All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the stream. If you're new to the stream, let me explain to you how this works. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over some charts, right? Well, actually, the news, we go over the news, but there's not much news to talk about this week. Then we go over some charts, right? Major markets, bond market, things like that. And then from there, we go into your requests if you have any particular requests. Now, if you're interested in like Bitcoin and Ethereum and things like that, I refer you to my other channel. Okay. So I have another channel for that where I do daily updates. And that's where, if you have a request, let me know and I can see if we can get that on there. I'll explain all that in a moment, but I'm not covering those markets here on this stream anymore. That's for the other channel. But I can talk about ETFs. I can talk about stocks that are highly correlated and stuff like that, right? So we can get started with that. In fact, I'm going to start with Beto. All right. So anyway, want to point out as far as the schedule goes, as far as the calendar goes, this is a holiday week. So I expect it to be very slow. We have Christmas Eve on Wednesday. We have Christmas on Thursday. So, Fridays, nothing's going to be going on. So that's really like the major news event for this week, right? Which means the market is going to be probably uneventful. Usually that's the case, especially the way things have been moving here. Like, so we had our CPI report, right? The week before, we had our core PCE, and we see where the market is as a result of that. So actually, before we get into that, let's start with something like the S&P, because we can look at it from an economic perspective. Is anyone here today, or am I just talking to myself? Say hello. Anyone? Because if I'm talking to myself, I'm going to cut it short, man. I got things to do. Let's go to SPY. All right. Anyone here? Booty cheeks? Anyone? Where are my people? No one's here today, man. I guess no one likes my other channel, huh? I told everyone, hey, check out my other channel. And I'd love to see what you guys think. Man, no one's here. I guess that's the feedback. Man, no one likes me anymore. Wow. All right. What am I going to do? Yeah, so if I'm the only one here today, I'm going to definitely keep this short. So let's begin here with the S&P, right? We're looking at SPY, the Spider ETF. And so let's just talk about some of these economic events that came out, and let's talk about just what's happening here. Now, again, this is a holiday week. So I'm expecting it's reasonable to anticipate bullish price action, right? Today is Monday, so that's right here, right? S&P is strong, clearly. So look at the previous days, right? This one over here, that was CPI report. And then this one, the second one here, that was core PCE, right? Those were the numbers that came out on those days. And what was it? Was it the day before that with the FOMC? Was the FOMC the week before? I think the FOMC was the week before. I can't even remember now. The 18th, right? What was that? Oh no, so I think this year was the FOMC, I believe. All right, the Fed cut. So I mean, we bottomed on that day, right? We produced a higher low. They cut the rates 25 basis points. We had a CPI report that came out here, and it came out less than expected, right? 2.7%, something like that. And they were expecting 3% on the CPI. So what that does basically is that now gives the Fed room to cut rates, because they could say, what inflation? We don't have inflation. Inflation's going lower, so we can cut rates. I think they're setting us up because, as we know, the CPI number is not an accurate number. If you look into how the CPI is derived, they actually, what they do is they do surveys. They conduct surveys, and it's not, they're not actually measuring inflation. They're measuring like an inflationary effect. I don't know. It's strange, but it allows them to basically, engineer the numbers a bit in their favor. So while the official rate is now 2%, 2.7%, the real rate is probably something more like 6%. That 6% number comes from the money supply. I guess it's the M2 money supply expansion. If you look at an M2 money supply chart, it's like vertical. And I think it's increased by like 6%. That's why they're gauging the inflation from, something like that, right? I don't know exactly, but it's something like that. So anyway, that gives the Fed room to cut. And why would they want to do that? Because guess what, right? In the next half a year, we're going to have a new Fed chairman. There he is. Hamid, how are you? You're the only one here today, man. No one, I think no one likes me anymore. After my new channel, I told everyone, check out my new channel. No one's here. They're like, F this guy. What do you think of my new channel? I was so curious to hear everyone's feedback. I got literally no one here. Grego. All right. Don't forget to mention the other channel. Oh, I put the link. I don't have the link now. I appreciate that, Hamid. All right. I'll give you the name of the channel. I just don't have the link. Um, if you just look up Mark's Market, it's at. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to put it in the channel. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. I don't think people like it though. Hamid, you watch the new channel? I don't know if this is going to work because I don't know if I have the custom URL on that channel. So that might not work. But if you look up Mark's Market, that's my other channel. Now I'll explain that channel. But yeah. So I gave the link out the week before, and I see no one's here now. So let me explain that channel real quick, what it is. Okay. You'll help me? Okay, cool. I appreciate that. All right, no problem. So and I just love to hear your feedback. So let me explain what that channel is now that I've been working on it now for like a week. Because again, I'm not working on that alone. Okay, I'm working with a team. So the way that we're it's a Bitcoin daily update channel is what it is. So every day I have to produce a video that basically updates Bitcoin and Ethereum and whatever else they give me. Those charts on those videos are not my charts, clearly, because these are my charts. So they give me the charts and they give me basically the information on what I'm covering, right? And I have to produce a 10-minute video every day that just has the updates. Now, if you notice, these videos are very similar to each other. Like each day, there's some variation in the videos, but they're generally the same. So, the purpose of this really is they're helping me build a brand, and this is the way to basically build that following. I mean, some of these videos that I've made have gotten more views than my streams have gotten, like in the years that I've been doing these streams. Okay. Uh, hey, Savi, how are you, Savi? Good to see you. Savi from Brooklyn. How you doing? You take any free buses yet? All right. No, Hamid. Actually, no. I'm working with a team, so I'm not alone on that channel. My job is to produce the videos. Okay, they give me the information. They say, here's the topic, here's the info, make the video, and then I send them a video, and then they handle the rest. So I appreciate your help. I don't need any help with that because that's what their purpose is, right? So again, but the point of this channel, the point of this other channel is basically to do daily updates, which means now understand that what you see on that channel, when I first made like my very first video with them, they told me they wanted more energy, right? More, they like to use the word dopamine, more dopamine. So I said, all right. And I went nuts. So my jokes were really like wild, and I was doing all kinds of wild things. I was making fun of Kathy Wood. I don't know if you guys saw that stuff, but it was pretty bad. Okay. I got in trouble with the Kathy Wood one because I was talking about, inappropriate things with Kathy Wood. And anyway, so I got really wild and off the wall with the jokes because, hey, they wanted high energy and I'm making funny. So I was just going nuts with it, right? So anyway, they said, all right, it's funny, but we're not aiming for funny. So the intro and the conclusion, those could be more, if you're going to do that kind of stuff, you could do a little bit more there. But the middle has to be a little more analytical. Okay, I just want you guys to understand, like, I go over things like, they'll give me a chart. Like, for example, the one I have to make today has a chart of the RSI on it. Okay, you guys know I don't use the RSI. So, I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, guys, I don't use the RSI. I can't talk about this. I have to talk about it. So I'm going to mention, okay, look, the RSI is here and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to mention, and here's how the RSI can be helpful for those who like to use the RSI. But so understand, it's not 100% my analysis, but I agree with a lot of it. Not all of it, but a lot of it. You'll notice it tends to be very bullish, but Bitcoin is bullish. So, and I agree with that bullish sentiment on Bitcoin because we are at a place where we should be buying it. We are at a higher low. Like all those things, excuse me, I agree with. But it is a little biased on the bullish side. That's part of the framework that they're giving me. I have to go with that, right? As you know, my analysis that I produce is more balanced, right? It's more like, okay, I do some, you have to consider both sides of the equation, right? Now, just a point that I want to make is you guys know I've been producing my professional analysis, my professional type of analysis for quite some time. And you want to know who appreciates it? Only you guys. Okay, only you guys can say, "Oh, okay, I like the way he handles it. The levels are realistic." So I'm going with their formula because if that's what's going to make my YouTube time worthwhile, then that's what I have to do. So I'm still doing my streams, and you'll still get to we'll still be able to do the things that we do here. It's just I can't cover Bitcoin, USDT specifically, or I can't cover those altcoins specifically. But like I said, I can do ETFs, I can do highly correlated stocks. I can do anything else, just not those markets. Okay, it makes sense. So anyway, I'd love to hear your feedback. That channel link work. Who asked me? Grego? Was it Grego? Does that channel link work or no? Instead of send. Well, no, I'm not doing that. Right, I'm not doing that, Hamid. I don't send signals by email now. I'm actually not continuing that. But because I'm working on other stuff. But I'd love to know what you guys think of the channel. Yeah, Grego. So I don't know if that link works to the new channel because I don't have the URL for it right now. But it works. Oh, you can see it. Okay, cool. So anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think, and positive or negative feedback. I like all feedback. If you guys like, man, your jokes are really very offensive. Tell me. Let me know. I want to know. But so those videos I produce, I have to produce every day. So if you subscribe to that channel, at least you get a daily update with my voice on it. You won't see my face; you'll only see my face here. But that's how that works. If you have any questions about that stuff, let me know. All right. So, but I'm very curious to hear your feedback, and I'd love to know if you like it or if you don't like it. All right. So anyway, but it's just not the same type of me that you're going to get here. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's talk about. So we're talking about this economic situation, right? So again, this is holiday week. I'm expecting Santa rally type price action. I mean, look at today so far. I mean, this S&P is on its highs. It's ridiculous, right? This thing doesn't pull back. And I mean, intraday, it's been horrible. Like the NASDAQ has been very sluggish. When people don't watch the video, they can't see the chat. It might be a good idea to put a link somewhere. Oh, okay. That's a good idea, Grego. Well, yeah, you know what? I can yeah, okay. It'd be nice if this thing actually could let me show the chat, but well, I guess no, when you watch it afterwards. You could see the chat now. You just can't see it when you watch it in when you watch it after the fact. Is that right? See, look, I can show this now for people that want to see the channel, the other channel. That's the link. You could go to that link for the channel, and you can let me know what you think. Okay, and feel free to put comments on those videos as well. Like if you hate them, be like, man, these videos suck. Whatever. I'd love to hear feedback. All right, so I appreciate that. Thanks, Grego. Yeah. So again, I mean, they're looking to develop and generate organic growth. So little by little. I mean, I've only been at this a week. That new channel has only been running a week, and the results. I mean, I got probably more growth in terms of subscribers, like the number of subscribers in that short period of time, than I get on this channel here, right? Which is kind of pathetic. Andrew, uh, Alex from Romania. Alex from Romania. How you doing, Alex? I've been waiting to say Romania all day. Romania. Romania. Okay, no problem. Have you seen the new channel yet? I want to know. You guys have to tell me. I guess no one watched the new channel. I want to know what you guys think. I want to know, guys, if you love it or hate it or whatever your opinion is. You're not going to hurt my feelings. You can let me know either way. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to take it personal. So feedback is only helpful. I can shape things. I saw some Merlin in your other channel. Oh, you saw some Merlin? Yeah. I also gave you. Oh, cool. Oh, cool, cool. Okay. Yeah, Merlin is. Yeah, Merlin is. He's. I'm working with him a bit. So anyway, cool. I'm glad. I'll check out your comments. So if you're here, that means you still must like me. Because when I first signed on here, I'm like, wow, only 2 people are watching. I guess no one likes my other channel. I guess I pissed everyone off. I alienated my own people. Okay. Uh, okay. Cool. Cool. All right. Great. All right. So anyway, all right, cool. So you guys know where to find it, and let me know your feedback. So as far as, and if you guys, again, as far as charts and stuff on this channel, we could do the ETFs and stuff like that. Is it reasonable to make a trade in vacation? Hamid, that's a good question. That's a good question. I love the new channel. I prefer when you scream less, like in this stream. But Benjamin, you know what? That's good feedback. But when I made my original video for that channel, I was speaking more like this, right? Because this is more my style. And they said to me, you're putting us to sleep. It's you need more energy, right? It's boring. More energy, more dopamine, like that SNL skit. More cowbell. I don't know if you remember Christopher Walken. It needs more cowbell. I know what this song needs. More cowbell. It's my Christopher Walken expression. My Christopher Walken impression. More cowbell. Well, they told me more dopamine. So I said, all right, that's why I yell. Okay, it's messing up my voice, but that's why I yell, because it needs more dopamine. Otherwise, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm following their feedback on that. But anyway, but I appreciate that. That's good to know. All right, cool. So anyway, I yell on this channel a little bit. Romania! All right, that's the only thing I really yell on here. Romania! All right. Hey, Bernard from Deutschland. Ah, guten Tag. Deutschland. All right, good to see you. I subscribe to that channel. Okay, cool, Savi. I appreciate that. Savi from Brooklyn, I appreciate that. Let me know when you start taking the free buses in Brooklyn. All right, I'm joking. All right, so let's continue with this analysis because I can't stay on here all day. I got to make my other video. Those videos take me a very long time to make, man, and I got to make one every single day. It is tiring. So anyway, all right, so S&P, look, so to answer Hamid's question, Hamid had a question here about, is this a good week? And the answer is, well, not really. It's a holiday week. So what, in a week like this, for one, intraday trades are going to be a bad idea. Like I said, I tried earlier today. It was horrendous. Like, I'm like, man, this sucks because there's like a move and then everything else is sluggish after that. It's very hard to get follow through. So, I'm not going to trade for the remainder of the week. I'm not even going near this market. But typically in markets like this, in a holiday, often you get a slow grind. So investing doesn't matter. If you're investing, it's really a matter of levels when you're investing. And we're not at any kind of significant levels here for any type of, to warrant any type of action in that area. So I wouldn't worry about that. But intraday or swing trades, honestly, I would take the week off because the moves are probably going to be muted. There's, unless we have any major news, right? Surprise news or something, I would expect a lot of just slow grind. The ATR, I monitor the 1 minute ATR for my intraday stuff. It was like 5 on the NASDAQ during, open market hours. 5, that's usually what you get when the market is closed, like at night or pre-market. 5. That's horrendous on a 1 minute chart. A good market, an ATR is like maybe 20, 15, 20. A fast market is like 40, 50. We're talking about 1 minute bars. Okay. So I use that as a gauge of like, is the market really moving here or not? 5 is bad. 5 is really bad. Second week of January, yeah, that's when things start picking up. Yes, I would agree with that. Now, again, for day trades and stuff like that, volume comes back because this is a function of volume. Remember, volume goes away because why? Everyone's away. No one's going to be in front of the computers. The big money, right? They're all on vacation. They all go to like, some nice island somewhere and spend all their billions of dollars that they get from their bonuses, right? So the market gets slow. And it's best to avoid. You know what? This is a good time to take the time to maybe go back and review things, go back and review your strategy, maybe learn something new, maybe learn some new technique that you may not use right now. Now is a good time to do that. Or just take a break completely and just do something nice and enjoyable. Just get away. Don't sit in front of your charts because you're going to be just wasting your time, in my opinion. That's what I'm going to do. I'm walking away, man. But anyway, so cool, good question. All right, so that's the S&P, right? So it makes sense, right? So just a quick recap. We had was it the FOMC, that candle was there, was the CPI, and then this one over here was core PCE. That was all the week ago, and we're just nothing but moving higher. So let's take a look and see. We can take a look at a stock like Beto, right? You guys know what Beto is, right? So this is the ProShares Bitcoin ETF. We can look at this because this is not the actual currency. This is just a tracking ETF, right? So, and I know some people were asking about this the week before, and I never had a chance to put it up. So check this out, right? I mean, look at this price action. If you watch those other videos that I make, we're talking a lot about this section right here. Okay, we're talking a lot about this section. This is a tricky section. This is very tricky. So this, I mean, you can look at this from many points of view. You can argue that it's a lower high and that we're poised to make the lower low. You could make that argument. But the other thing is, if you look at a weekly chart, this thing can also reverse, right? And that's the position that that's the position that we're arguing for, with the other channel is this here is basically at a support area. It's in a supportive area and it hasn't broken yet. So until it breaks, it's reasonable to anticipate that this thing is more likely to reverse. Because when you look at those bigger picture charts that you see that on the other channel, like we look at the monthly chart, we look at that weekly chart, this area is nothing more than a gigantic higher low, right? It's a higher low. Now, one thing that I want to point out about this too is this area happens, if you notice, we happen to be fluctuating a lot around 88K. You guys notice that? Remember 88K? I talked about that number many, many times, right? Because that's where my wave 1, wave 4 overlap is what I determined, right? Wave 1 of the broader 5. So this thing refuses to really stay below that. If this thing can't break and stay below 88K, what that will tell me is that this thing is still possibly in the broader wave 5, right? If that's the case, broader wave 5, then we're looking at something like this, over the next few months. Because wave 4, if wave 4, wave 1 is not really overlapped, I mean, technically it's overlapped, but this can be very subjective, right? That's the problem when you do these wave counts. And I just noticed this 88K keeps sticking and it keeps sticking and it keeps sticking. 1 minute we're a little bit below, then we're back above or back at it. We're not staying significantly below. Like I don't see price pushing 80K and staying below. It keeps popping back up, right? So perhaps the overlap is not really in effect. Because if the overlap is in effect, then I consider this move the broader wave 2. And if we're in broader wave 2, then there is potential to go lower, right? But again, all of this depends a lot on the type of catalysts that come out as well. And if you've been watching the news items that they make me cover, I mean, I know you could argue that they're all biased, but some of these things are pretty compelling. Like the one that I sent out just earlier today with the global money supply chart and Bitcoin, like that really stood out because if that's the global money supply and Bitcoin hasn't reacted to it yet, that means there's a lot of bullish potential in this thing. That's what that means. So it's just a matter of catalyst. It's just a matter of some news item comes out or something, or some government does something. Next thing you know, this thing's breaking 95K, right? On this chart, that would be, what is that? $14, okay? $14 on this chart. So that's the equivalent to 95K. Remember, guys, you don't have to use a straight up currency, like Bitcoin to get involved. You can use an ETF, or there are highly correlated stocks too, right? So like, for example, let's take before I get into the bonds and oil and all that, let's just take a quick look at Coinbase, right? Because you guys know I'm long Coinbase, right? So I've been talking about that. I've been talking about this for a while. And look, Coinbase right now is at 248. It's not really moving anywhere. I'm long 2 shares. I know I'm a tough guy, 2 shares. But the whole point of trying to buy a share at a time is I'm only trying to accumulate 5 to 10 shares. And if we break and we test the lower low, I have another order to buy at 220, right? So my average price, I got one at 240, I got one at 250, and I'm not going to get one at 220. My average price will be around 230, right? And then I'll see where we go from there, right? But my goal is to accumulate one at a time, right? As this thing pulls back, it's a long term. This is a long term position. What do you think about the opinion that bear market? So, all right, so that's a good question. I'll answer that here. That's a good question, Hamid. So I just want to point this out that this idea. Let's go to a weekly chart. This idea, I mean, this chart. What does this look like? It looks very similar to Bitcoin, does it not? I mean, the formations look almost exactly the same, right? This represents the 126K high on Bitcoin, right? And here we are now. That's a clear high or low on this weekly time frame, right? And there's old resistance, new support. Look at that. Okay, so that's a very compelling location. But if Coinbase decides to test that low and I pick up more, great. I am looking to buy in this area, right? I'm looking to accumulate more in this area if I have that opportunity. And what I'm looking for is Coinbase to retest 300, which is around here. And possibly if Bitcoin has its run and Bitcoin retests 126, we're looking at this zone for Coinbase, which I will be happy to sell into and take my profit, right? That's the idea. So, I'm just not doing it with large size because if this thing decides to really get hammered, I don't want to sit here and, lose more hair. Not like I have much more to lose. So anyway, all right, let's take a look at Mister, right? Because this is another one, MSTR. Michael Saylor's stock. He calls it strategy. You like I do a lot of Michael Saylor impressions. Every time they send me a picture of Michael Saylor, I'm like, okay, here we go. It's Michael Saylor time. Don't F with me. All right. So again, same situation. Just understand micro strategy or strategy because he dropped the micro. This thing is just going to be a more exaggerated version of Bitcoin. Really, that's what it is. It's going to have a higher beta. That's all. So, if you're getting involved in something like this, how do you adjust? Well, smaller shares. I would like to start buying 1 or 2 shares or 3 shares, something like this, build up a small position. I mean, look where we are in this thing. So it looks like garbage right now. And people say, oh, yeah, this thing's going to go to zero. They're going to take it out of the NASDAQ. Well, they never took it out of the NASDAQ 100. They kept it in there, right? So this thing is in an area where you just, if you believe in what he's doing, if Bitcoin turns right back up, this thing is going to turn up, right? I mean, because it's just what they call it, Bitcoin treasury company. So he's just betting all the money that you give him on Bitcoin. So it's a proxy for Bitcoin, right? And it's just a convenient way to accumulate Bitcoin without having to actually buy the currency itself. Does that make sense? So anyway, I love the levels. There's no technical structure here. There's no technical reason to get into this besides the old resistance, new support. But this thing, all these markets look poised to break lower. I wouldn't get sucked into that because again, fundamentally, we have the opposite happening. That's where things are very compelling. And that's where, and those daily videos that I make, I believe in a lot of this stuff. I know it sounds biased, but a lot of it is compelling because we are seeing all of this expansion, right? One of the points that I made was, 10 years ago, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was nothing going on, man. There was just, Bitcoin, drugs, and scams and exchanges that were extremely unreliable. That's what it was like back then. There was nothing but uncertainty, right? And of course, those were the best times to get in, but it could have gone to zero, right? So there was none of this ecosystem development. There was none of this banks and institutions and governments getting involved. There was none of that. So now, everything is going to be tokenized. Everything is going to be a coin, all that. That's the future. That's where it's all going. Stocks are going to trade on chain. So that's why when you have a situation like this, right, where Bitcoin is causing all these things to pull back, that's essentially just a massive mispricing because markets are not rational. Remember, right? Markets are not rational. So they react only to what they see in front of them. Like, the market wears a Captain Obvious hat. It only can react to what's in front of it, right? So if you give it a piece of news, if it's official government news, the market is going to price that in, even though we know something like the CPI is far from accurate. But the market doesn't care about what we know. The market just says that's the official number, and that's what we're pricing in, right? So that's why things can become mispriced. And those types of mispricings, you have to have the ability to understand that, and you have to have the ability to take the risk, because there's no certainty to this. There's no way you could say, okay, this is a sure thing, I'm going to buy it. You have to just step into it and hope that it works out. But if it doesn't work out, you've thought of that in advance and you protect yourself, right? That's why I'm buying one share at a time. Because if it breaks, I'll be like, all right, I can afford to hold on to this for a little while and whatever. And I'm not going to keep putting on more and more and more if it breaks, but I can handle it if it breaks, right? That's how I'm managing the risk. But you have to have the courage or the foresight or whatever to take the chance to begin with. This is a probability game. Also, I want you to think about this. You don't have to be right or wrong to make money, because you could be right and lose. You could be wrong and win, right? So it's really not about being right or wrong. It's about how you manage the risk. When you win, you want to win more than when you lose, right? That's really what it's about. There he is. There he is. Booty Cheeks. You see the video? I made a reference to you, Booty Cheeks, in my video. You see that or no? I'm like, oh, he'll get a kick out of this. I don't know if you saw that. Okay, let's move along. All right, so let me get off of Mr. over here. All right, but you guys following me on this? Let's take a look at the bond market, because I don't think we haven't looked at the bond market since the CPI report. Let's go back here. Come on, what is this? ZN1. Okay, bond market, right? These are the bond futures. So let's see here. Hold on. You saw, oh God, I'm glad you saw that. I'm like, I hope he gets to see this. Um, there is a theory that say banks and people like Powell you sent to destroy Trump and make him lose because he completely supports Bitcoin. Okay, Hamid. All right, I'm glad you brought that up. All right, I'll address that. So, Booty Cheeks made me do it. I'm like, I think he'll get a kick out of that. Yeah, they told me I'm overboard on the humor. Like you're doing too much. You need to cool off on that stuff. The Kathy Wood stuff really that was like overboard. So I thought it was funny. They're like, yeah, it was funny. You just can't do that. I was like, all right, you're gonna get us banned. I'm like, all right, you're right. YouTube has rules. I understand. So anyway, but you made me do it. All right, so let's talk about the bond market here. These are the bond futures, right? The 10-year note futures. We talked about this triple top situation, right? And we talked about how this thing has been basically getting bearish. Look at this candle here, right? These candles, that was yesterday. No, that's a week ago. Hold on, let's go to the daily. Let's go to the daily real quick, because what I'm curious about are how the CPI report and the core PCE report affected these. This is the CPI report here, right? And that's core PCE. So, I mean, initially bonds rallied a bit on that information, but since then we've established a lower high. So I don't know. These bonds don't look good, man. We can't really make too much of a judgment on them, but they don't look great. We have a resistance, we have a range up here, right? You could call that a head and shoulders or a triple top. We have a support that is likely to break. It's sort of been tested there, but failed to break. But we have a lower high that's developing now. So I don't know, man. That's definitely not what the market wants to see. The market wants to see bonds rally, right? The market wants to see bonds do this, not what it's doing. So it's just the bonds haven't moved dramatically enough to cause anything to break. But if these bonds start breaking this support, just guys, keep an eye on this, because you want insight into where the market is going. Keep an eye on this, because that's your insight right there. If we clear that and we have a bearish trend in the 10-year note, that means the yields are rising. So, and that's not in line with the Fed agenda. That's not in line with what Trump wants. That's not in line with a lot of things. And it'll cause pressure in the stock market. right? It'll cause bearish pressure, and Bitcoin will suffer as well, right? Because that means the cost of money is going higher, right? Look, US 10Y, right? This is the yield, right? This is the inverse of the bond prices. This is not what the yield should be doing. This is, remember, the 10-year note trades freely. Okay. The Fed can't control this like they control the short-term maturities. They can't really do anything about this besides the only thing they can do is buy bonds, right? They can buy the futures themselves. They could buy the bonds themselves to drive the bond price higher. They can do that, right? They call that quantitative easing, right? They call that, they have all kinds of names for that. But that's essentially what one thing that they can do. And obviously that would have to pour a lot of money into the market. But they've been putting, I saw something, they're putting $40 billion a month. They just started a week ago. They're putting in $40 billion a month into the money supply or something like that, or injecting money. I saw something like that. I don't know. Fact check me on that. But okay, great. They're doing something, but this is going the wrong way. So I don't know. Okay, keep an eye on this, because if we're going to see problems, you're going to see them start here, right? You're going to see them start in the bond market. So keep an eye on that. If these yields continue to rise and they break out, because this looks bullish to me. If I had no idea that this was the bond chart or the yield chart, and you told me that this was like, Bitcoin or something or Ethereum, I'd be like, I'm long. I'm buying this thing, right? This is a sign of strength. So just keep that in mind. If this thing goes the wrong way, it's going to cause problems. All right. So it doesn't mean that it will, but if it does, so it needs to break these supports here, it needs to break that, and then it needs to break this low over here, right? It starts doing stuff like that and it holds this resistance, then you'll have your answer eventually. The market has to confirm. All right. So let me answer this question here from Hamid. So yeah, I'm going to show the question. There's a theory that say banks and people like Powell are using selling pressure basically to hurt Trump and make him okay. So now that's Hamid, I would say that that's a conspiracy theory. You know, you can't go by stuff like that. Like, I mean, sure, there's a conflict between Trump and Powell. Powell's losing his job. Okay. No more Powell movements. We're going to have another name soon because he's out of a job. He's going to be joining the unemployment line. Not like he needs unemployment anyway, because he's like a trillionaire or whatever. But the point is, we're going to have a new Fed chair coming soon. I don't think they've announced his name yet. They said they were going to give us his name. People suspect it's going to be that Hassett guy, but I don't know. They say he's a moron and he's just a yes man, and he's not a good choice because he's the Fed, and it's not going to look good as far as the Fed relationship with the government, because the Fed is not supposed to be biased, right? So there's that. And then they talked about that guy. There was another guy, the Fed governor at what's his name, Waller. I think they mentioned Waller, but he's a low chance. He's a low probability. Hassett has a better chance. Okay, and I forget who the other guy was. But anyway, we'll find out. They're going to announce who he is. Anyway, whoever that is, Hamid, they're going to be a yes man, and they're just going to do what Trump wants, which means lower rates. Okay? So I was talking to someone about that. I'm like, I don't understand. If they know we're in an inflationary situation, because we are, okay? They know we are. We're in an inflationary situation. Why would they make it worse? And what someone suggested to me was, because they're going to tokenize the debt. They're going to use these stable coins, and that's what they're going to do. That's why they're inflating as much as they can. I don't know. That's strange. I have to look into that more. I thought that was an interesting perspective because I hadn't thought of that. But anyway, yeah. So just think about that. Don't get caught up in those conspiracy theories with all that political drama, because that's not really relevant, I don't think. Okay, look at gold and S&P. Okay, so we're going to take a look at those now, right? So let's start with I looked at S&P to start, but let's look at gold, XAU USD. Look, guys, and also let me know if you have any questions about the stuff I'm going over. I'm not here just to talk. I'm here to listen to you guys too. Look at gold. What the? Oh, this is the daily. Man, what the F is going on here? Look at that. Breakout. Man, breakout. So this thing, I keep saying this thing is not a short. It's clearly not a short. Bad idea to short this thing. Broken out, higher high, coming off a higher low. This thing just doesn't know how to pull back. Okay, there are just no pullbacks in gold. I'm curious to see, what does the 5-minute gold look like. Let's just see here. This is intraday gold. Okay, this is intraday. So it looks like most of that move came what, between 9:30 and 10:30, around there, earlier today, right? This is most of the move on gold there, right? And since then, it's just been consolidating that move. Interestingly enough, staying above the 50% line. Look at that, right? Previous resistance, new support. Interesting. So that's gold, huh? I should look at, F the NASDAQ. I should look at gold. But yeah. So gold, when you see gold doing stuff like this, right? Making you, oh, that's the wrong chart. Is that the right? No, let me just reset that. So making new highs on gold, clearly that's money searching for safety. That's also, that's inflation, right? There's, how do you explain this? I guess you could say geopolitical, whatever. Usually you see spikes in gold like that, but now would I buy gold right now? You know me, guys. The answer is no. I wouldn't buy gold at this point. You're in a failed high zone. So you have to have a lot of confidence to step in front of that, and you have to be quick to get out if you're wrong. Because if this thing pulls back, you're in a failed high zone. The pullback is what you want to be interested in, right? And this thing has a lot of levels now. You have this, probably the most important level would be this one on gold, which is 42.64. So you could round that to 42 half. I mean, man, it's unbelievable. Gold's up 100 points today. I'm afraid to even look at silver. Let's take a quick look. What is that? XAGUSD. Let's see. Oh man, $68. Ah, silver is going berserk. All right, that's why you can't short these things, man. I mean, if you want to be like just a dumb buyer and hope for the best, gold or silver, because they just don't pull back. So anyway, very interesting. So now we could jump to the S&P. Trump will defend himself. Well, okay, but again, Trump needs inflation to grow exports and will be good for USA economy. Uh, Inflation, I mean, maybe it's good for the businesses and the people who have hard assets, but it's certainly not good for the people in this country, Hamid. I'll tell you that. Silver is more expensive than oil. I mean, that's nuts. That's nuts. All right, let's take a quick look at oil, because that's one of the things we look at here, CL1. Wow, oil's coming up a bit. Let's look at the weekly chart. We've been looking at this in recent time. Look at the double bottom on oil here, right? So a lot of times they like to use oil as an example that there's no inflation, because oil represents energy, and usually energy, you see a lot of inflation. There's nothing. Look, this is struggling to maintain this low. Look at this. But this is, if there's a place to buy it. We talked about this back here. Remember? No, not here. Back here. It was back here. That was weeks ago. And I said, "Wow, good place to buy oil." Remember that? And then like the next day, it was up like a whole bunch, because there was I think the Venezuela thing came out, or sometime no some kind, no, it was Russian sanctions. That's what it was. Like the next day, they put more sanctions on Russia or something like that, and we saw a spike in oil. Just look at the location. Look at this location. If you're going to take a chance in oil on the long side, you have the location at least, because I mean it's the third time it's touched and it's failing to go lower. So that's the slightly, I would say, more aggressive. If you want to be a little more conservative and wait for some form of confirmation, you could wait for these highs to be broken, right? When these highs are broken, then that would signal that oil is probably breaking away from this bearish structure, right? That's that's the bearish structure. I think this was the Venezuela thing. I forget. There was a reason. I forget why it spiked like this back there. There was some type of news item that was associated with that. I can't remember what it was, but that structure has been in play ever since. Lower highs and lower lows. We have yet to break a resistance, but when we do, that will be a sign that the bearish structure is no longer in play, or less likely to be in play. So right now is the more aggressive time to get involved. Like, why is it more aggressive? Well, because the bearish structure is still intact and this support can still break, right? When you break that resistance, that's a sign that it's changing. Okay. Will you look at Baidu? Sure. Benjamin, sure. Okay. Very interesting. All right, so I covered the main things, right? So you want to do S&P again? Well, I covered S&P at the very beginning, but look, Hamid, SPY. I mean, SPY is nothing but strong. All right, I mean, it's just like nonsensical. Look at that. We came off the higher low after those economic reports that I talked about right at the beginning of the stream. Right, we talked about those economic reports, and we're in Santa rally mode right now. This thing is likely to push the high with the higher low in place like this. I mean, it's likely to push the high, right? Doesn't guarantee that it will, but I believe chances are it's going to break the high. So that, on the day after Christmas, hey, Santa Claus came and made the S&P go to new highs. Yeah, we're all happy. We're all gonna, we're gonna be rich, right? Yeah, that's like Bezos and all his friends saying that, because most people are not long the S&P. My 401k, I guess you can say, whatever, right? But this is poised to go higher, right? Anyway, and that is also a function of inflation. So I guess in that sense, Hamid, yeah, you're right, because it's going to make things like the stock market go higher and stuff like that. It's going to be good for anti-inflationary assets. So anyway, all right, let me take a look at. All right, we got Baidu and we got AMD. Let's take a look. Yes, it would be good if dollar get weak. USA can export more. Look like right. So that makes sense, Hamid. What you're saying there is people will be more competitive, right, in the global marketplace if our dollar is cheaper. So yes, I know our administration loves that idea at the expense, of course, of the people, because we suffer, right? We go to the supermarket and we can't buy effing bread. We can't buy food. Everyone has to be on food stamps. But Bezos is doing all right. All right. So anyway, so you say here, yeah, and make weaker and weaker a lot of jobs. So right. So again, it's good for us in terms of business for people to buy stuff from us. But as far as like the labor market, yeah, we've been having labor market problems here. But part of it, a small part of it is AI, but I think a larger part of it is the outsourcing, right? They're hiring people in other countries and paying them pennies, right, as full-time employees, and that's a problem too. So I don't know how inflation is going to fix that when you can still pay because of the exchange rate, right? You can pay someone in Pakistan or someone in Bangladesh, you can pay them a fraction and they do just as good work or whatever, and they speak English and all that. And you can pay them a fraction of what a US employee needs because our cost of living is very high here. I mean, you go to the grocery store, you spend $50 like on 3 items. It's kind of wild. All right, but anyway, good observation. So let's take a look at, we had, what was it, AMD? What was the other one? Let me start with the other one first. Baidu. Okay, let's take a look at Baidu. It's a Chinese stock, right? China, as your friend would say. I don't do very good impressions of him. So here's Baidu. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. They're like Amazon, aren't they? I think. I don't remember. So this is the weekly chart, right? Take a look at this. This is, I mean, when I see a situation like this, right? We're just looking at the most recent data. You could see this wave structure in here, right? So this is like wave one over here, back here. That's the lowest point right here, wave one, right? And then it's followed by wave two, which is typically a consolidation like that, right? Followed by wave three, which is typically like a dramatic breakout and dramatic move. That's typical, yes. Wave four, which is a consolidation, very, very typical, right? This is like very, very typical. And look at this. You have a gap right in here, right? This is not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence, right? So wave four found a bottom of support at that gap, which is also very common. And if we look at the wave one top, which is around here, we could say it's around there somewhere. Wave one top, right? And wave four bottom do not touch. That's the overlap idea. The same concept I'm using on Bitcoin, right? Again, this is not my stuff. This is how you use wave counts. These are rules. You can Google this. So if they don't touch, that means this impulse wave, this entire structure is intact, right? This entire structure is bullish. That's what that's telling us. So what that means is if we have 4 waves, then there's a greater probability that we're going to see a 5th wave higher, right? So we need wave 4 to break out. This first leg could be, it's possible that this is the first leg of 5, but you can't really make that type of judgment yet. So what you can do is you could draw like a trend line on like across these highs over here. It's sort of broke, but you have this thing right here, like this little double top. So you might be better off using that as a reference, right? You break above that, then you're likely to see a 5th wave. The 5th wave, reasonably, you can use as a profit objective. You can use this high as a profit objective, right? Theoretically, it should go higher than that, but that's a good point of reference. So that's around what, $145? And this thing right now is at 125. So that's got some room to move. This would be a great options play, in my opinion. You could do vertical spreads, like you could do bull spreads, like you can buy out of the money call and sell a call around that price up there. It's going to be cheap, but you have to buy yourself a lot of time. I'm not a big fan of those spreads because they're a pain. They're a pain to make money off of. You have to wait a while, and this thing has to be right because of the time value effect. When you buy a spread rather than sell one, like it really needs to do this, and it needs to do it and then let's say it goes through, you're not really going to make money on that spread until you use up all the time because you have a short option in that spread, and that short option needs to run out of time, right? So that's I rather do the bull put spread because that's where time is working for you. So if you shorted, like, let's see, what is this, 118? So like maybe the 100 put, and you do like maybe 2 weeks out or something like that, or what is this here? 108, yeah, 100, maybe 110, something like that, right? You sell the put and then you buy one below. Now, as this thing wastes time, that thing makes money, right? That's where the profit comes from in that. So I'd rather have time work for you than work against you. So, just an idea if you trade options, that's how I would handle something like this, right? This one looks like a nice one for options. So thanks for pointing Baidu out. I will certainly keep an eye on this. I may open up a vertical spread on this. A bull put spread is the type of spread that it's called. Okay, if you know options. If you don't know options, then just don't worry about anything I said. You'll be confused. All right, how much time have we got? Okay, so a couple more minutes, and I got to wrap this up because I got to I got to work on my video, man. All right, so let's see. We have what was that? AMD. All right, AMD market stock. AMD. Let's take a look. All right. So guys, again, I appreciate your feedback on my other channel. I hope you enjoy it. If you find that I'm alienating you, I apologize because it's more for like a crowd that just wants a quick update, and people that are, I would say, less experienced, right? It's geared more toward beginners, where like my stream here, you guys are much more advanced. So I don't have to sit here and explain like what an RSI is and why I don't use it, right? You guys know. So just learn some. Right, right, Booty Cheeks. Right, Booty Cheeks says here, if you don't know options, you probably can't see him because he's hidden. If you don't know options, just learn some Greek. Right, some Greek letters. Yeah, you can go on Duolingo for that. All right. So anyway, AMD. Look, AMD first of all is a market stock, and since they make chips, and they're going to be compelling with this whole AI thing and blah blah blah. Right. This is the weekly chart. I mean, look at this gap. Clearly, that gap was from a quarterly report or something. Or I know AMD had some big news not too long ago. But the point is, something like this. I mean, can we see a wave count on this? I'm looking. This is a giant 2. This looks like a 1, 2. This is a 3, 4, but then it overlaps. So if it overlaps, then you have to go to the next magnitude out, right? I mean, look at this thing. I don't like looking at wave counts on time frames that are too large because then the margin of error is bigger. So let's see. Do we have anything here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Okay, we can say that this is an entire 1. I can count 5 waves, right? 1, 2. This is a 3. This is a 4 pullback, and then you got this massive 5 with a gap in it, right? So that could be a 1, and then this is a 2, right? Remember, corrective waves typically have 3 legs. They can have more than that. So, but you have this gap support, right? You have gap support here. Look at this. So a stock like AMD, very similar to Baidu, by the way, similar, just looks a little more dramatic. I would wait in a situation like this because I don't like this type of consolidation. This could be a lower high. And if this is a wave two, it can correct more. There's more room. This can correct theoretically 100% of wave one. Hey, Kai, how are you? I'm glad you're here. I thought you were mad at me. I'm like, oh man, Kai doesn't like my new channel. He's not coming to watch my streams anymore. Oh, the OpenAI investment. Okay, right. Oh, one of those, Benjamin. Okay, yeah. The old the the fake demand game that they're playing, right? Right? They OpenAI. Oh, you buy the chips from us, and we'll invest money in you. Right, right. So they're basically making their own money back, and then they're showing it on their belt. Look, we're making money, people. We have demand. Yeah, great. Wait until that unravels. The old let's fake revenue game. It's the new way of cooking the books. Right? Back in the day, they used to cook the books. That's what we used to call it, right? With these accounting things. This is the new way to do it. So anyway, uh, well, Kai, because I was really out of control in those videos, and I thought when I first started my stream here, there was like two people. I'm like, man, I think I alienated everyone. I think I pissed everyone off. No one's coming to my stream anymore. They hate my new channel. But then I explained like the reasoning behind the new channel and who it's geared for and all that stuff. It's really not geared toward you guys. But any feedback, like I said, I'd love to hear. So anyway, I'm glad you're not mad at me, Kai, because I was like, man, Kai was one of my old timers, man. I think I pissed him off. Okay, good. I'm glad you're not mad. All right. So anyway, AMD. So a situation like this, I would be looking for a retest of any activity inside this gap, right? And any type of reversal. I mean, look at this nice pin bar. This is a weekly, by the way, right? So we just started the week. This thing has plenty of room for a tiny pullback. Now, are we going to get a pullback in the next few days? I highly doubt it. We're in Santa Claus mode right now, right? So the next 2 weeks, we're probably going to work our way higher. I wouldn't expect anything dramatic. Like I wouldn't expect something like this, you know. But first quarter next year, that could be another story, right? So right now, any type of pullback, if we can get a pullback, might be a good options play. Very similar to Baidu. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's see. I see you stick to a new video. Yeah, man, dude, it's hard, man. It's hard, Kai. I could barely get those things done. They take me a long time to do because like I'm inefficient. But and I still have to work. I haven't even started my video yet today. I'm gonna be up for a while. Okay, Trump is the man. How to make himself rich? So he know was well true. I mean he's a business guy and all that stuff. So I mean, look, I understand of some of his policies. It's just that the inflation thing is throwing me off a bit. You know what I mean? That's just throwing me off. But like I said, someone told me that they're going to tokenize the debt, and that's why they're going to inflate as hard as they can, right? Because the logic thing would be you don't want to inflate, you want to fight inflation, right? But they're not fighting it. They're pouring as much gas as they can on this. And why would they do that? They know what this is. They know what this means. Why are they doing it, right? So that was one explanation, which I'm like, that makes sense. I'm gonna watch. Okay. Cool, Kai. Cool. No, you don't have to watch them all. You don't have to. I mean, but I have a lot of bad jokes. They told me I have to cool off on the jokes. I was getting too out of hand. I was really getting out of hand. Yeah, it sucks, man. It's very time consuming to put those. They're only 10-minute videos, but they're very time consuming for me to put together. I mean, I've been exhausted, putting those things together and trying to stick to my regular schedule. But it's fun though. Right, right. Inflation debases the debt away. Right. It's basically that's the goal. Right. That's really their goal, Kai. That basically that's the idea, and they're going to use this tokenization as a way. I don't know. That's going to play a role as well. Because everything is being tokenized. Anyway, all right. So you guys follow me on that. Thanks for asking about this AMD. Some interesting plays here. So like I said, guys, I got to wrap this up, but just keep in mind, right? Let me put the S&P back up on here. We're in the middle of a holiday week here. The next week and so it's probably going to be slow intraday. We're probably going to be seeing slow grinds working their way higher. It's a lot of optimism, a lot of hype and la la stuff. You know what I mean? So just take it easy, right? This is really not a time to be aggressive. This is sort of like, when in August when things get very slow, it's very similar to that. So if you're going to take a break or you want to take a break, like this is a good time to do it. And then first quarter, like after the first week, like Hamid was pointing out earlier, that's usually when volume comes back, right? And usually the first quarter, first and second quarter is usually like heavy duty. That's like where we're like at full speed. After August, like when November comes around, that's like our first, we get back into the swing of things, and we start seeing moves. But the first quarter into the second quarter, that's usually like where we really see volume. And when we see moves, that's when we see them. So that could be bullish or bearish, right? It's going to depend on the catalysts. It's going to depend on, we don't know what type of events are going to unfold. Some sort of unexpected news. It's just that what we are very likely to see are range expansions one way or the other. So you want to prepare yourself for that. You don't want to blow your money now on these quiet markets. You want to save it for when there's much better opportunity, right? So just a few things to keep in mind there. Okay, guys. So Thursday's Christmas. Enjoy your holidays. Relax, have some drinks, spend time with family, eat. Don't get stuck on these charts. I'm still going to be producing those 10-minute videos. So if you want to hear what I'm saying and you want to hear me yell at you for 10 minutes, then feel free to watch those. Okay. So yeah, I meant to address that. So Hamid, all right. First of all, we're not in a bear market. So I'm not sure where you get that from. We're not in a bear market. There's no bear market anywhere. Look at S&P. This is not bearish. That's not a bear market, right? When we looked at the Beto chart, right? This is basically Bitcoin. You could say you can argue that that's a bear market, but that's not really a bear market. That's just a pullback, right? So I would not call this a bear market. This is not a good chart because it doesn't show the full history. I don't know what chart would show the full history. Let's see. What would? Let's see. Maybe something like Coinbase would be a little more accurate, maybe. This is a little bit more accurate, right? This is a little bit more representative of what Bitcoin looks like. This is not a bear market. We have nothing but higher lows, right? Higher low, right? Higher low. Bitcoin looks very similar to this. Higher low. So if you mean the corrective phase that we're in, then yeah, by Q2, that makes sense. That makes sense because you're looking at out here, right? You're looking at like way out here. So you have like a whole next few months with all the underlying fundamental things that are happening right now. I think we're seeing the bottom of that, and I believe, again, we can't know for sure, but I believe over the next few months we're going to see the upside breakout. We're probably going to see the upside breakout. Okay, I mean, because there's just so much stuff like hidden, or the stuff that's not really being priced in. And I think that the market is just overreacting to short-term information, and that's why it's mispriced, right? So you have to recognize it from the technical perspective, and you have to be willing to take chances in situations like this, because when markets are when true opportunity is real or it's available, it usually looks ugly, right? I mean, just look at this back here. That was not looking like a time to buy. If I hide that, right? If I do this, look. If I do this, okay, and I hide that, and you just see that the data is hidden, right, on my replay chart here. You see that? And I said to you guys, buy this thing. You're going to be like, that's a bear market, man. I'm not buying that, right? And then when we play it forward, I say, look, I told you, it's not a bear market. I told you it's not. Yes, it is. It's the bear market. Oh, whoa, wait a minute. Oh, okay. I'll wait for the pullback now. It's not pulling back. Okay. Oh, wait, I missed. I missed the whole move. Okay. Now I'm long now. Now I'm long. Okay. So that's what I mean. You see that? That's a good example. Okay. So, all right. How do I turn this thing off now? Yeah, here. Okay, you see that? You see that? So opportunities usually are available when things look ugly, and that's how things look right now. So I hope that answers your question, right? So Q2, Hamid, Q2, like I suspect that Q2 we're probably at the bottom now, and Q2 I suspect will be higher. Like let's say we're pushing 100K or we're pushing 110K or something, right? Sure, the bear market will be over, but those are going to be bad prices, right? Now those are high risk prices. The low risk prices are now. That's the point, and that's the point of those videos I'm making too. It's the same message, which I agree with. Okay. So if the chart shows the full story, does that include uh, secretary? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the revisionist history. I don't know. You'll have to ask the history channel. That's beyond the scope of this channel. But it's a good question though. Yeah, good question. You're gonna get me banned, man. You're gonna get me banned. I'm gonna get myself banned, and I'm gonna blame you. Booty Cheeks, when YouTube sends me the ban email, I'm going to write them back. Booty Cheeks made me do it. He made me do it. Ban him. They'll be like, we've done that. We've banned him. You're now we're banning you. He's been banned. Ah, all right. Anyway, so you guys follow, right? All right. So Hamid, I think I answered your question. Great questions. I got to wrap this up, guys, because I gotta work on my other thing now. Look at Apple and BTC now. Okay, well I appreciate that, but Constantia, you should have came an hour ago because I got to wrap this up now. So you know what? Come back next week. I stream every Monday, right? Same time. So, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Come back Monday. Feel free to ask me all questions. Just come early. When I first started the stream, there was like one person watching, and I think it wasn't even the UTXO bot. It was some other bot. And I was like, man, I said, if this is what it's going to be like today, I'm going to quit early here. But anyway, so come back next week. So, guys, enjoy your holiday. Have fun. Take it easy, and everything else. Take it slow. And remember, it's likely to be a slow week. So do other things, enjoy yourself a bit. Yeah, we'll take a look at that next week. All right, so enjoy. And next month, Monday, we'll do this again, and we'll take a look at the markets and see what kind of progress has been made or not. All right, so guys, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world, and thank you very much for watching. What do you say over here? Okay, cool. Yeah, happy holidays, guys. Happy holidays. And we'll do this again next week, and I'll answer your questions. All right? Enjoy your day. Enjoy your evening. Thank you for watching, guys. All right.